Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, First Community Financial Bank, the community bank where you come first. My final guest today on Spotlight is the DuPage Community Foundation. And I'm going to welcome Dave McGowan, who is the president of the DuPage Community Foundation. And joining him is Rick Taroulis, who is a partner with Brooks, Taroulis, and Tibble. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to start out with you, Dave. Just give us a quick overview of what the DuPage Community Foundation is all about.
Sure. The foundation is a permanent charitable endowment to benefit the residents of DuPage County. So we receive gifts from people, families, organizations, and companies in the community. We invest those funds and make grants from the earnings to not-for-profits throughout the county.
It's a big job.
It is a big job.
Yeah. And Rick, you're a part of that process. Talk to us a little bit about how the whole planned giving through estate planning can help with that process.
Okay, a lot of families are interested in charitable giving, and there's different ways to do it, and in my experience, the foundation is by far the easiest way because it's easy to overcomplicate. You could set up your own foundation and not-for-profit corporation and get a tax-exempt status, and I think people would spend more on lawyers than they would on the charity. And the foundation just makes it so easy because they do all the hard work. They do the investing and the accounting and the taxes, and my clients just get the fun of it and the tax benefits. So it's so easy to work with the foundation. I've referred many people there and never once heard a complaint. It works very well.
Well, now, and Dave's told me before, you do an excellent job of raising that whole topic of charitable giving with your clients as it becomes a part of that whole estate planning. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about how those conversations go and how we get started for a viewer on that whole charitable giving through estate planning.
Well, every family is different. I try to help people by explaining alternatives. There's many alternatives and pros and cons and costs, and I tell them what other people do. So at different phases in the plan, the charities come up. Sometimes it's a special gift. Even if spouses survive each other and children are alive, they still want to give something to a church or a school or a charity. Sometimes it comes up in the disaster clause. If the whole family is in a plane wreck and there's no descendants, then the charities come up. Sometimes families have more than enough money for their children and they don't feel like giving the kids too much money is appropriate, and so they spread it around, so it comes up in different ways.
So it's a way, so you're sort of really helping them to think about how to maximize the money that they'd like to give away to charity.
Well, that's a part of it. The tax benefits and tax planning, giving, for example, appreciated stock has good tax advantages as opposed to selling the stock and paying taxes and giving what's left to the charity.
Okay.
So it really depends on the circumstances, but it's just so easy to work with the foundation. I give their name out all the time, and nobody's ever been sorry they worked with the foundation.
Well, that's a good recommendation to have right there.
Well,
tell us, Dave, a little bit about, you're getting gifts that are coming in through estate planning. Talk to us a little bit about some of the places that money typically goes.
Sure. We give we're the only broad-based funder in DuPage County in the areas of health, human services, arts, education, and the environment, and trying to cover all the municipalities in the county. Mostly human services. About half of our grants will go for basic human needs in the county.
Okay. Can you give me some examples of perhaps some organizations that have benefited?
Sure. Some longtime grantees right here in Naperville would include the Conservation Foundation, working on environmental issues, the DuPage Children's Museum, 360 Youth and Family Services, Loaves and Fishes, longtime partners of ours.
Okay. And some of the services that you might offer to them, I mean, Rick is talking with his clients about charitable giving, and then they're passed over to the DuPage Community Foundation. How does that process work for a viewer?
And it can be, as Rick would have alluded to earlier, unique circumstances.
Okay.
Sometimes all it needs to be done is a handoff, and we can take the conversation there. Sometimes we're working together on the process as well as the outcomes.
I think the families that work with the foundation are much more active and involved in their charity. Anybody could write a check to the Cancer Society or to the Red Cross, but then that's the last you'll see the money. You don't know how it's going to be used. It gets commingled with other people's money. Families who enjoy the charity they can set up a fund at the foundation, and they can specify what it'll be used for. It could help seniors or poor people or students or the environment, anything that they want. And they can really tailor it and be involved in who's going to get the grants. And that's what I mean by they get the fun out of it. So
it can be very strategic and very personal, personal choice.
Well, and I've always heard that the ideal amount of an inheritance is enough to make a child think that they could do anything, but not so much that they think that they could do nothing. And there really are families who feel like giving too much money to the kids isn't a good thing, and so they're very charitable.
Well, and there's also you're leading by example in
Right.
that. You know, you're demonstrating to your children that there are always going to be people that deserve and need and really would appreciate some of that asset as well.
Right.
When some families are referred to us, frequently they have spent their lives raising families, building businesses, and haven't really had the time to think about what those strategies would look like. So when we sit down, oftentimes we're sitting down with a couple exploring the big questions of how much, to what organizations, when, and with what assets. And frankly, the people who work at a community foundation, that's what makes us come to work. We love having those exploratory conversations. We have tools that help us do that. We have staff members who are really learning about strategies for giving, what kinds of gifts, when, and then our director of programs, for example, will sit down with families and explore what are those areas of interest, what are the fields that they're trying to make a difference in, and then introduce them to the organizations that are working in those areas.
So you're matching those donors with people who need the money, and through whatever instruments, whether it's estate planning or other means, that money or those assets might be transferred.
Correct, and oftentimes it'll be, as Rick has suggested, a fund within our foundation, either through their lifetime giving or a bequest from their estate. But frequently we'll sit down and chat with families and just help them explore what that giving strategy will be, and maybe it won't even include the foundation. But our role in the community is to help promote those gifts and facilitate those conversations.
That's great, and that sounds like a lot of also what you're doing with your firm as well, Rick, is facilitating conversations and helping people come to some decisions.
So I think that I really help them the most by giving them alternatives and helping them make an informed decision.
That's
so
great.
The foundation just makes it easy. Instead of reinventing the wheel for every family, we just let them do the hard work, and we get the tax benefit and the fun of it.
Well, thank you guys. And if you are interested in learning more about the DuPage Community Foundation, we invite you to visit their website. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more Spotlight.